Ministries every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is another episode, and today you will get some good information, some great nuggets, and some tools to strengthen your relationship. The Couples Corner with Team Bevins.
All right, party people. How y'all feeling tonight? Welcome to the Couples Corner.
Welcome.
Man, we so happy to hear and see y'all, you know. We just glad that y'all are here with us. So this is Team Bevins on the Couples Corner. I'm Marcus, and this is my wonderful wife,
Cherie.
And tonight, man, we have a serious topic to deal with tonight. And we're going to need you all's input tonight to help us get this party really started. You know, tonight we are talking about checking yourself. Check yourself. That's what we're dealing with. Check yourself. And we are going to pray. And once we pray, then we're going to jump right into the conversation. And we want you all to be able to share your input, you know, so that we can have a great dialogue tonight. So I'm going to pray, and as soon as I get done praying, we're going to jump right into this conversation. Father, we thank you for another opportunity to gather together in the Couples Corner. We thank you, Lord, for every person that is here in the Couples Corner with us, Lord. We pray that as we go through this broadcast tonight, Lord, that we will be able to share some things and get some understanding, some insight on how we can better our relationships and the things that we can do to make our relationships stronger, to make them better. And we give you glory, we give you honor, we give you praise that we will be able to get some answers, some clarity. We'll get some tools that we can use so that our relationships can be better, can be stronger, and ultimately that you will be pleased with what we have to offer you through our relationships. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So, like we said, tonight we are talking about checking yourself. And so, you know, this is a loaded topic, you know, because when you talk about checking yourself, you're talking about first you recognizing that you are wrong. And in the process of recognizing that you are wrong, you also have to make the necessary adjustments, you know. And as you make those necessary adjustments, then you will be able to see, you know, how things can, you know, be better for your relationship because you took some ownership and made some adjustments. And listen, you were able to check yourself before anybody else had to check you. And so, you know, this first part that we have to deal with is you checking yourself. But on the second side of this, we're going to deal with how do you handle having to check your mate? And how do you handle when and how do you handle when your mate checks you? You know, how receptive are you to it, and how do you respond to it? You know, and then what are some ways to actually check your mate? You know, does everything have to be harsh and disrespectful and you know, tough, and you gotta, you know, do all that? So we're gonna deal with all that today. And so we're gonna first start with dealing with checking yourself. What are some of the tools that you use when you have to check yourself? What are some things that you do to get yourself together? You know, to I guess in a sense, really kind of like put yourself in place, and, you know, what's your mindset when that has to happen, you know, and do you think that you're good at doing that? Do you think that you are good at catching yourself, you know, catching yourself falling off or slipping or, you know, slacking or any area where you would feel that you would need to check yourself, and in the process of checking yourself, you make the necessary correction and then be able to bring some more health and some, you know, some better vibes to your relationship because of how you are handling you in the way that you managed yourself. So before we jump in to answering that, you got something you want to add to that before we get into this conversation?
I just wanted to say that checking yourself is not always because you are wrong.
Right.
It should probably be a daily thing that you do with things that you need to work on so that you can check up on how well you're doing with changing or controlling the things that you know you're lacking in or that you need to deal with or change concerning your relationship.
Okay, I like it. So I'll start with the checking yourself. I am an evaluator, and I evaluate myself often. And so in the process of evaluating myself, I generally try to find out what I could have done better. And so in trying to figure out what I could have done better, I'm always trying to, be a better version of me. So, as bad as it may seem, I'm probably my worst critic, and I know a lot of people are their worst critic, and sometimes that can be a bad thing because you could be so hard on yourself that you can miss some of your own good because you're beating yourself up for perfection. You know what I mean? So when that happens, it's really about being able to use some balance, with it, because being your worst critic, you will always find something wrong. You will always find something that could be better. You will always find something, that could be greater or that you can enhance and all that kind of stuff. And so that stuff is good and it's necessary. It's needed. The question is, how do you handle, how do you get past that on the other side of it? Because you can be such a critic to yourself that you can do harm to your actual character and to your presentation and to what you do because you're so hard on yourself. So, as a person that does a lot of evaluation, and being a critic of myself, I find myself sometimes beating myself up for some things that are not perfect when they're good. And I may not even be getting a complaint about them. I may not even be getting, any sense of dislike about it, but because of the expectations that I have for myself and where I want to produce in different areas and all of that, it's like I may not be happy with what I did or what I said or how this came out and what I tried and all that good stuff. And it would cause me to be hard on myself with, trying to fix things that I think are not perfect, things that could be, that could be better. And of course, we want to always strive to be better. Nothing's wrong with that. But at the end of the day, there comes a point where you have to accept that this is where you are, this is who you are, without beating yourself up too bad. That's one side of it. The other side of it is when you do find yourself slacking, when you do find yourself procrastinating, when you do find yourself being lazy, when you do find yourself getting complacent and not, producing at the level that you should as a mate, as a spouse, then you have to check yourself, because reality is you don't want to be checked by somebody else on something that you could have done a little better. So I know for me, I kind of fight on both of those ends with checking myself, but at the same time being so hard on myself that sometimes I may be too hard on myself. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Well, I'm perfect, so we don't have that problem.
That's beautiful.
Oh, wives, can you hear me? It's not us. So
misguided.
Well, basically, I had to write down, what do you have to do when you need to check yourself and be honest with, to check yourself, you have to be honest with yourself.
Right.
So number one thing, you have to be honest with yourself and where you are and what you've done. If you've done something that is not right, if you've done something that you could do better or you could approach it another way, then you need to be able to be honest with yourself and say, yeah, the way I said that was a little wrong, or how I approach the conversation, or whatever it is, so y'all know we're gonna talk about me because I like confrontation, or I used to, or I kind of still do. So it's nothing for me to jump into a conversation. I can jump into it, I can deal with it, and I can even handle the blows that come with it, but the way that I do it is not always the proper way. So I have to deal with myself. I have to say, Cherie, okay, this is how you need to deal with, or this is what you should say to Marcus, or this is how you should deal with it, so that it will get a different result.
Right.
So if you want something different in your relationship, you have to do something different. So that may take you taking 20 minutes out of every day and evaluating where, if something in that day went wrong with you and your spouse, where it went wrong. What part did I play in it, and how can I change it? So you have to be honest with yourself. You have to pray about the things. You have to, when you're honest with yourself, you have to admit it. Like, okay, this is, you like confrontation, Sheree. You have to admit that. For a long time, I couldn't admit it. I'm just like, no, it's not that I like confrontation. People just, no, I welcome it.
Right.
And it doesn't always have to be welcomed. So, I had to admit that, and then I had to decide, how am I going to change this? What steps am I going to do to change this? And that only comes through prayer, through continuing to make mistakes, but not stay in my mistakes. I think sometimes we feel like in our relationships that, this is who I am, whatever. Instead of saying, no, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. I shouldn't have did it that way, and I can fix it. Staying that way, I think, is where we come into a big problem. Right. Not checking ourselves enough to say, let me change this. Now, it might not take 2 days to change. It may take a year. It may take 4 years. Right. But you have to be in the process. You can't still be at step 1. We need to get to step 6 so we can get on up to step 12. So that's what I feel.
Okay. So when you deal with trying to fix the wrong and making sure that this is something that somebody else doesn't have to get involved with, how hard do you need to address yourself? Because sometimes it varies. Some people are too hard on themselves when they check themselves. Some people are too lenient with themselves, so when they're checking themselves, it doesn't always resolve the issue because they're too lenient with themselves. Some people don't have personal penalties that they give themselves, or they don't have ways of really addressing themselves properly. So when it's all said and done, is the checking really working? Is the checking really effective? Because if I'm talking reckless, or whatever, let's take something, we'll call it small, but it's not small depending on how it's used. If somebody is being petty, you know what I'm saying? If somebody's being petty and that petty becomes offensive, and you catch that it's becoming offensive, but the person, is not trying to show their full offense, but that it's been offensive while you were being petty, even though you were joking, and even to a degree they could find that it was some joking involved, it still could have some offense. So how do you check yourself, fix the problem of your pettiness, without just sweeping it under the rug like, I was just joking, they know I was just joking, or making sure that the person is all right? Should that step be taken? Because in relationship, sometimes we joke with each other. We'll joke with our mate, we'll joke with our spouse, and the joke is funny to you, but it ain't funny to the other person. And,
exactly.
And so because it's not funny to the other person, do you consider their feelings, or do you just stick with the joke? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a jokester at heart, so that's just naturally what I'm going to do. But I have to check myself sometimes, because although I have joy, although I may find it funny, although it may be okay with me, everybody else is not accepted. They're not accepting that for what I'm presenting it as, because I don't have the ability to determine how you take what I give. I only have the ability to control how I give it. And if I give it in any way, it shows any signs of being offensive, it shows any signs of being, having some issue or trauma to it, then it's on me to make the next decision on how I'm going to handle it, how I'm going to check me, and how I'm going to fix the situation. How I'm going to check on the other party and make sure that things are all right with them. Because sometimes, realistically, everybody doesn't always have an issue with their mate or with their spouse, but sometimes they do have an issue with how their mate or their spouse may address other things or other people. The issue might not be with the spouse and them. Some people got, say, like smart mouths, but their smart mouth ain't with their spouse. Their smart mouth is with other people. You know what I'm saying? So then, it may not directly affect your mate. That's just like if I was out here reckless with my mouth and getting smart with people and doing all of that, but I wasn't getting smart with you, then I could take the pride in the fact that, I'm always respectful when I talk to my wife, but if I'm disrespectful to other people with my words, I'm disrespectful with other people, and how I handle them verbally, then if I don't catch that, then I can be subject to having to be checked by my mate. And that's something that people don't like. But if we don't take the proper, if we don't take the proper time and deal with checking ourselves properly, then that's the next step. That's the next step, and that's not always the best step. But you're looking like you were great.
No, I'm just because I'll just go ahead till 7 seconds is up, and then I'll talk. Okay. Hey, Mix Station Radio. For those of you who don't know, he will leave me 7 seconds, and I'll talk then. Okay, so you have to listen close because I will have to go really fast, like the little credits under the commercial at the end of the commercial.
Oh, you got to talk fast. Okay, all right. Okay, I see what's happening here.
Woo! Oh my goodness. You check yourself. I say this every week. It would change, and that is the answer to your question. If you keep having the same issue, or your spouse keeps saying the same thing, then there is something that you're not doing, and it may be that you have to get somebody involved in holding you accountable.
Right.
An accountability partner, if it can't be your spouse, which it should be able to be your spouse. We should only think, or we as spouses should only want the best for our spouse. If you in it trying to tear them down, trying to make them hurt like you hurt, trying to do, and that lasts more than like an hour, then there's a problem. Because I don't think you got married to, disrespect each other or to hate on each other or to make each other feel bad. Right. I think that we should have each other's best interests at heart, and in doing so, we should hold each other accountable for being a better person.
Right.
So, and I know we put it check yourself, but or check your spouse, but it's really not like that. Like check them, Yeah. It's just bring into their attention something that may need to be changed. And how do y'all deal with that? Call us, talk to us tonight. I know y'all saw a post. We want you to talk tonight. Call Mix Station Radio at 1-855-493-6499.
We had a comment on social media. It said, you absolutely consider the other person. It's not healthy for me to push past what someone else is feeling. Wait a minute. To push past what someone else is feeling. Whether I agree with that or not, what they feel is what they feel, and it has to be validated. If not, my experiences are that you are asking for problems. And I would agree. We have to make sure that as we go through these things and we deal with, reality is reality from different perspectives. You know what I mean? Reality for some people is truth, while reality for other people is experience. And so if this has been your experience, then that becomes your truth because that's the experience you had. While it may not necessarily be the truth for someone else who had a different experience. So, when that happens, you do have to consider how the other party feels, in that scenario. You can't just bypass it.
Can't be like, I'm a jokester. That's what I do. I joke. So what you upset about?
Right. You have to be considerate of other people's feelings because everybody doesn't handle the same scenarios the same way. Something that one person may laugh off, another person may cry about. One thing that somebody would allow to roll off their back, like a water on a duck, the other person is like they're in a car accident and it hit them like a brick wall. And so, everybody is different. So you can't, and that's a character thing that we all have to make sure that we, look at, because theoretically, as much as everybody want to say, oh, I'm the same, you can't treat everybody the same. because everybody is an individual, and some things work with some people that won't work with others. And you can't just say, oh, well, that's just how I do, or that's what it is, or, whatever. I just keep it 100, and so I just tell it like it is. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool for people who can handle that. That's cool for people who can digest that type of meat. But when you're dealing with people who don't have that type of digestive system to take what you're giving them that way, then you have to be disciplined enough, knowledgeable enough, and experienced enough to take what you are trying to present and present in another way, so that the person that you're presenting it to will be able to accept it. Because if they don't accept it, then it's pointless and you've wasted time. So that's definitely something to consider. Hey, for those of you who are on social media with us, won't you share this so you can invite some other people to the conversation, and we can further the conversation so that we can finish dealing with how we check ourselves and the things that we do to make sure that we don't repeat some situations, some cycles, because we've done some self-examination. We've done some self-checkups to say, okay, hey, this wasn't good. I should have done this, or how well do you do with kind of going back and looking over some of the things that you do, whether it's a project that you're doing, or whether it's something that you're working on, or just in your relationships, like we talk about having relationship report cards, so like that's a part like with our kids, we're kind of like, you shouldn't get your report card or your progress report and be surprised
at all,
because the work that you've been doing, and you've been seeing the grades, you've been seeing the response that you get back from the teacher. So if you're getting back all A's, then when you get that report card or that progress report and you see an A, that shouldn't be surprising to you, because you know that that's what you've been getting.
Right.
But you also shouldn't be surprised if the work that you've been doing and what you've been given, you've been getting back failing grades on, and then you get your progress report or your report card and then you see failing grades and you shocked. like how you shocked when you already saw that your consistency has been producing this type of thing.
So if your spouse had to give you a report card, what would it be? What would be on it? Where would you excel?
Right.
And where would you fail?
Yeah.
If you just take a minute to think about that, where would you excel and where would you fail? And those areas that you think you were failing, or not necessarily fail, but, be below average.
Right.
Have you been working on it?
Right.
But guess what? Today's a good day to start working on
Indeed.
it. So,
Indeed.
you just have to think about that. If my spouse was to really, be able to tell the truth about me, what, give me a report card and I wouldn't start zapping out.
Right.
What would be on there?
Yeah.
Because we know where we fall short.
Indeed.
And how many of those things on there did they try to discuss?
Right.
With you, or did you try to discuss with them?
Right.
So like I said, you have to be honest with yourself, because what you need to fix. You just may not know how to fix it, and that may be a problem.
Right.
And that's why I said another person may have to step in. Your spouse can help, but it may be someone else that has to step in and say, hey, listen, I was here, and this is how I got out of it, or this is the steps you can take, or this is something you can do. Everybody's situation is going to be unique to that person, but there are ways to, get through it.
Right. Definitely. And if you really pay attention to, your relationship, I think that signs are shown within the relationship of what's liked and what's disliked. What's acceptable and what's unacceptable. The question is how well are we paying attention? Because if we're not really paying attention to the subtle signs that are being given, then it's going to take a conversation. It's going to take a situation that is going to have to bring some things to your attention that you could have already got the context clues on, by the way that some stuff was happening. And it would help, to help put you in a position to change them, to check yourself, to really evaluate, where you are, and kind of deal with it. Like the Bible teaches us all the time that a man, has to examine himself. And in the process of you examining yourself, you can't just examine your good.
That's good.
You can't just examine your good, because a lot of times that's what we do. We wanna examine our good. You know, we wanna show our great hand. We don't ever want to show our withered hand.
Yes.
We don't want to expose where we're weak. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to expose where we need help, or we don't want to expose that you know, there's some areas that we could do better in, but because we don't necessarily want to expose those areas, a lot of times we end up being stuck. And we don't have to be. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be stuck in any situation that you face if you are teachable. If you are a person that's open to, you know, to the experiences that you face, and you're open to, you know, kind of see where you are and what's happening, and to be, you know, woman enough or man enough to say, hey, you know what? I messed this up. I could have done this different. I could have done this better. I could have, you know, whatever the scenario is. But are you woman enough or man enough to own that this is where you are, this is where you failed, and fix it? You know,
we'll be able to handle the criticism, the
right.
constructive criticism. You know, so another truth moment. I was the person that couldn't handle that. I can't handle constructive criticism from anybody, from my spouse, from jobs, whatever. I never appeared that I couldn't handle it, because I may even change or whatever, but I would always have to say something back, always have to be like, no, but it's not that way, it's this, instead of just listening. Sometimes when people are talking to you, you need to just listen and try to see what they see. Right. You're not always going to, it's not going to be a perfect thing, but right. Sometimes we just need to listen, digest it, take it in. Marcus does this well. He thinks for a year before he speaks. And I'm like, so are you still thinking about it? What's going on? Because it's been 2 days and I need to know. But for real, he really does. He thinks like a long time before he speaks. But I had a problem with that. If you told me something, I was like, no, but I did that because this is because, instead of just taking it in like, yeah, Cherie, that's a character flaw, or that's something you need to check. It's something you need to work on. And I think our marriages and this whole world would be a better place if we just work on what we need to work on and stop trying to rebuttal or, you know, say, no, this is because of this or because of that. And ultimately, it's because it's you. This is what you decided to do, because these are your actions and you are the one who's responsible for your actions.
Right.
So when y'all get to heaven, because I know all of us going to heaven, right? Everybody going to heaven. When y'all get to heaven, you are not going to be able to say, Lord, I did that because he made me and she made me. Well, look at you like, no.
Right.
This is your situation.
Yeah.
This is your body, your emotions. So you have to, and that's why this is so important. I believe that you have to absolutely check yourself. I can't. My phone just told me go to bed. So check yourself. See, I had to check myself. I say I stay up too late. So I had to put a reminder on my phone, alarm on my phone that says go to bed, because I'll just be up. And while you up, you got things to do the next day. You got children that got to get up and go to school. And so I had to do that. Now, whether I listen to the phone or not when it goes off, whether I do it or not is, you know,
right,
going to be another thing. But
yeah, that's now here's the thing. With checking your spouse. Now let's talk about that. Your mate. And when you're checking them, you know, what's a good method to use when you do that? Because I don't believe that checking your mate has to be negative. I don't believe that it has to be drama filled. I don't believe that it has to be
pointing finger in the face.
All of that is not necessary.
Clapping
but I
your
think
hands.
that right. I think that you can check your mate in love and get a positive result. I'll give you a prime example, and then you all can call in with your questions or your comments. 1-855-493-6499. This is the beginning of the week. Just last week, right? I checked my spouse. I'll tell you the story, but I'm talking about my spouse. I checked.
Like, what?
I checked my spouse, right?
Told you was the best husband. Who is your
I know.
spouse?
I checked my spouse, right? But it was in love, and it wasn't a damaging check. Now, really,
I don't even remember. So am I been in love?
This is the thing. This is the thing. It really wasn't. It really was checking. I wasn't doing it to check, but it was checking. And all I did was remind her of something that she told me that she wanted to do. And when I reminded her, the next day she was doing it. The next day she was doing it. Now, it wasn't that I pointed it out as if, oh, you wrong and you shoulda, or I thought you said, and this, that, and the other. We were having a conversation, and I reminded her of something that she said she wanted to do. But she wasn't doing it at the time. But because I reminded her, it sparked something in her, and the next day she was doing it. Now, this was not, and for the record, this was not something that was, quote unquote, directly beneficial to me. You see what I'm saying? Because sometimes we always think that when we want to check somebody, we only want to check them when it's beneficial to us.
Sure.
We're not checking the person when it's beneficial for them, because you shared your vision with me, you shared your dream with me, you shared your plan with me, and now I'm reminding you of what you said you wanted to be or what you said you wanted to do, and when you weren't, working towards that, then you become this person that, that now I'm just going to accept the fact that you said, oh no, I'm going to go to college, and I'm just one class away from graduating, but I'm gonna do that in 2018. And then when somebody that you told this vision to asks you how the class going, you say, oh, I ain't do it yet, and they say, you got to hurry up and get in that class. They're not trying to check you because it's beneficial to them. They're checking you because this is something that you said you wanted to do. And if they're a real friend,
I graduated from college though, yeah.
If they're a real friend, if there's somebody that's really connected to you, then they should be there to be that support system to make sure that what you wanted to become or what you wanted to do, that you're able to do it.
Sure, that's true. But I don't think you have to check your spouse in anger, or I think that's the time you shouldn't do it.
Right.
You shouldn't do it. If you know there's something you want to say, you need to write it down on a paper, and then later, this is what I'm going to talk about. Because in anger or dramatic, some of us should really get paid for this drama that we have. But I think that is the absolute wrong time. And you're right. You did just do that, and I just did it the next day. So that was kind of good because I didn't even remember that.
Right.
So, but it's the way you need to know your spouse. And I think I say this to y'all all the time. You need to know your spouse. And to my lovely, beautiful people that I love, who is it? The people that I love, the engaged people. You have time now to see how this goes. See how this communication goes. See how it is when you have to say, hey, listen, I don't really like when we out, and your friends around and you start acting this way, I like you this way. Right. So see how that goes. You need to see how that goes before you say I do, because it's not going to change. When you say I do, it's not going to matter how you say it. If the spouse feels offended by it, they still offended.
Right.
So you need to try these things out now while you're engaged. Try these things out now. Y'all can call in and tell us, how do you feel when your spouse has to tell you something that they feel you should change, or why aren't you doing, or give you a little push, maybe like you said, and something you said you were going to do. How is it for you? You can call 1-855-493-6499, or you can call and give us any comment on the subject that you would like, or you can type in the if you're on Facebook with us, you can type and we will read it. But let us know. You may help us. Hey.
Indeed. And
you may help somebody else who really wants to know, because they're really dealing with, like, I really don't like when, and some of us are in a No Child Left Behind relationship, because we just, okay, it's okay. That's No Child Left Behind. Your child can't read, but it's okay. We're going to put them in the next grade. It's okay. We're going to keep moving them. And then you cannot get into college or you can't get a job. And so you're going to say it's okay till you explode. And then you can't, instead of communicating, you're going to keep saying, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. No child left behind, no spouse left behind. We're going to keep moving forward when this is really bothering you, instead of saying, listen, the way you do when, you had 2 glasses of wine, I just wish you really wouldn't have 2 glasses of wine.
Right.
Whatever it is, like, there is a way to communicate everything for your spouse and for you. There's a way that that's something you're doing. Even if you communicate it to your spouse and say, listen, I know that I'm confrontational, but I'm working on it. And this is how I'm working on it. And then show the evidence of that. That's like, you got to show the evidence of things. Just like you can't tell your spouse you love them and never, ever show them.
Right.
So you can't tell them I'm changing and never, ever show the change. I mean, it's in your mind. That's good for you, but that's not good for the world. Yeah. That's not good for your spouse. Like, we need to see it. I don't care what people say. We need to see change. We need to see love. We need to feel love. Right. So you need to be able to say, listen, this is what I need to work on. Or your spouse should be able to say, hey, well, why don't you do better with your time management? This is what I think. This is what I see. This is, whatever. And maybe they can help you with time management. I just picked that out the sky. But if somebody's dealing with time management, then maybe your spouse can help you.
Right.
Sometimes you're good in something that they lacking, and then they lack in something that you're good in. So, but no one can do this without showing the steps. Right. You cannot get from this. I can't get from this chair to the door without putting one foot in front of the other. Right. I can say I'm gonna get up and leave all I want, but I got to get up and move my feet.
Exactly.
So you have to show the steps in the process. You have to actually do them, please. So if anybody has a comment, a question, something to strengthen your brother or your sister, call 1-855-493-6499. We're talking about checking yourself. And we're talking about, how do you feel when your spouse checks you?
Now, something that something that I've seen happen a million times is wrong timing and wrong placement for checking.
Mm-hmm. That would be me.
That
would be me. Because listen, y'all, I am the now person. Like, when I see it, when I hear it, when I feel it, do it right now. And that is wrong sometimes. That is so wrong. But I'm just like, what? You said what? Like, I don't even, I just get to the point because I don't want that stuff on me. Because if I can't get it off of me, then I feel some kind of way. So I'm ready to unload it, but how I unload it and when I unload it is wrong. Good evening. So it's just, I have to learn the placement and the timing for who I'm dealing with. And the hardest person to learn that with is your spouse, because you feel like, who I am. That I'm just, this is what I do. When I think it, I say it. So just deal with it. But that's not true. And at the same time, you shouldn't have to with your spouse. If they know that you're a deal with it now person, wait 7 days. Like, they should shorten that to 3 days and then deal with it. Right. Got to compromise sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
To help you through the process, because very few people can go and change overnight.
Right. Facts. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it is very important that you don't just bust out just any old and every old where wanting to check your spouse, because
no,
that's not gonna be beneficial. And honestly, that can create a problem that did not exist before your choice of timing, because at the end of the day, men, you are not with a little girl, and women, you are not with a little boy. And so some things that you do, if you do it at the wrong timing, it makes them feel like that. And if they feel that way, they'll respond that same way. And so, it's kind of like it then can turn into tick for tack, or it can turn into, you embarrassed me, so now let me embarrass you worse. So if somebody remembers embarrassment, they're gonna remember how I embarrassed you, not how you embarrassed me, which all of it is foolishness. So when it's all said and done, we have to be the people who have the ability to realize that now isn't the time. And at the same time, you need to protect and guard your relationship. You need to protect and guard your mate, the person that you're with. And there are some things that you should never want anybody to see your mate in certain positions, in certain situations and circumstances. And there should be some things that should remain private about your relationship.
Let me interject right here.
Go ahead.
Let me interject right here. And you should guard them from Facebook and from IG and from whatever other social medias out there, because I don't care whether you don't say their names or not. If you're typing and you're typing something about a relationship or something about hurt or something, people are going to automatically think of your spouse. They are. Sorry. So then when they come on there saying something or inbox you saying certain things, do not get upset, because you're putting this stuff in the air.
Right.
You putting it on social media, and social media cannot fix your relationship. I have some people that I tell all the time, like, stop putting your relationship on social media. Stop putting things out there that when you're good, now everybody's like, well, wait a minute, let's scroll back 7 days ago. You said that he don't do nothing, he never took care of, he or she dirty, she don't. So, and now that's there. Even when you delete it, somebody has the screenshot. Listen, I'm telling y'all, as soon as you put it there, somebody has the screenshot already. Especially if it's my children. They got the screenshot. They got the screenshot. So you just don't do it. Avoid it. Talk to each other.
And that's important, because you have to understand that you are an extension. You are a representation of your brand and your relationship, the team that you're on. And that's the first thing that you have to see and know, that you all are a team. So, on the team, let's take basketball, for instance. On the team, everybody has a role to play. And you may see some people getting on some people if they're not playing their role. I ain't getting on you because I don't like you. I'm getting on you because you're not playing your position the way you're supposed to be playing it. And the goal of this is for us to win. And so the reason that I'm checking you because you're about to make this team lose, with the mentality that you have, with the behavior that you're exhibiting. And so I'm checking you because this is a winning team, and right now we're not winning. You know what I mean? Good. And so because this is a winning team and we're not winning right now, we have to make some adjustments so that we can get back in the winning column. That's important, but you have to know that, like I was saying a little earlier, you can't treat your woman like a little girl and think she's not going to buck back. You can't treat your man like a little boy and think he's not going to buck back. That's just not happening. That's not happening unless you got a weak woman or you got a weak man. That's not happening. And so understanding what team you're on and what this is all about and what's important is the first thing that you have to know and remember, because that's going to set the tone for where your relationship is going. That's going to set the tone for how things are going to advance in your relationship. So timing is so important. You can't just check your mate any old way. You can't just check them any old way, because this is their reputation that you have on the line when you are not behind your closed private doors. So that's something that you have to remember. And what you mentioned about the social media piece is very important, because it is no way that I'm going to type something about feeling alone or typing something about feeling like I'm all by myself and I'm married. I'm whole married. I'm a whole husband, talking about I'm alone and I feel by myself and nobody's here. But you don't think that somebody is going to think that that's a subliminal message that you're sending about your relationship? You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't even make sense. You're never alone if you got a wife. You're never alone if you got a husband.
And if even if they're Jesus, you even ain't if they're never alone.
Even if they're not participating in the thing that you're doing, you still ain't alone. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be careful with what we say and what we post and how we portray, our relationships on social media. And when we say portray your relationship, everything that you are saying and doing may not be about your relationship, but because of who you are and the person that's in the relationship, everything that you post and everything that you portray is a representation of your relationship. It's a representation of your other half. So, you know, my wife can't be a nurse like she is, and then I'm on Facebook doing lives about all these wrong things that go against what the real principles of nursing is. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't even make sense. Not when you have someone who is strong in this area, and then I'm getting on there just telling you all kinds of stuff. Take cough syrup and chase it with water, and then do 10 push-ups, and you'll sweat your cola. Like that's you know, I mean, these are things that don't make sense, and we're finding them funny, but we see these kinds of things every day.
That's true.
You know, that your wife is a this or your husband is a that, and then you getting on here saying, oh, well, I wish I had somebody that could do this. Like, how you wish you could find somewhere to eat and your husband a whole chef. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you looking for, you know, this to happen or that to happen, and your wife is a whole whatever. You know what I'm saying? You have to check yourself and know that what I'm presenting is not beneficial for my team to win. You know what I mean? These are the things that we gotta do better with. You know, and if we check ourselves, then our team can win.
Sure.
Our team can win. She's just a blinker. So
eyes burning. Ooh. Pray for my eyes. Go ahead, because I forgot what I was about to say.
So, you know, that's an important thing. So here's another question that I have, you know, to put on the table for you guys. Now, understanding that you may have to check your mate, you know, we didn't get to this point or this part. What are some ways to check your mate that won't necessarily put you in harm's way or trouble, but you can get the point across or get to the intended outcome?
You asking them to call in and tell us?
I'm asking everybody that can hear me. I want you to call in at 1-855-493-6499. Again, that's 1-855-493-6499. Or if you are with us on social media, then you can post on the Facebook Live, and we will share your comment there.
Say the question again.
What are some ways that you can check your mate that would not or should not create friction or problem within the relationship?
I think we did answer that.
We're asking for tools.
Tools?
Things that people can use.
Text messages.
Now, that's, you know, I mean, listen, in some cases, text messages work for some people. Now, in some instances, it don't, because
it really is. But sometimes some people, that's the only way that they can get a conversation started or get an answer. So is to text it, because it leaves out, well, it's bad in two ways. One way, it leaves out their emotion, and then depending on how they type, somebody might read into the emotion.
Right. So let me give y'all a quick tip on texting, okay? As well as for, you know, any typed communication tool that you choose. Please don't text or type in all caps, because that makes it appear that you are yelling at somebody. And watch your punctuation, because when you use exclamation points at the end of what you're typing, then that can appear that you are driving that point home when you're not necessarily trying to do that. So, you know, punctuation makes a great difference. There's a sentence that you can write that if you don't put the punctuation in the right place, it will change the entire context of what that meant.
Go ahead and give the tools.
So the first tool that I would offer to you is to do it in love. That's the first thing. In doing it in love, you are doing it intentionally loving, not just doing it and saying, well, I only said it because I love you. No. You're doing it intentionally lovingly. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what that doing it in love is. Not I'm doing it because I love you, but doing it lovingly, where they should be able to feel the love when you present it. Not just, no, you threw the plate down and said, this is nasty, and I only told you that because I love you. No, you need to just say
how
like,
you present it.
Right. From now on, think of
and
places
what
we
they
can
feel
go.
is love, not what you feel is love.
Right. So we have a comment on social media. Can you address that?
This is royalty. You know we have royalty on here. Okay. KON says, some ways that you can check your mate is to first check yourself and put yourself in the other person's shoes and ask yourself, how would you feel if the tables were turned? That's excellent.
Great. And another way that you can also do that is to whatever the issue is, to present it in the form of a question, to give them the opportunity to give the answer, even if it's not the direct scenario that you're speaking of. But when they give the answer and then you turn it to the direct situation, what do you think would happen or should happen in this type of scenario, even if it's not directly mentioning them in the way that they handle things or have handled things, but that that presenting it in the form of a question is not accusing, and that can be very helpful.
Your final thought.
So
You don't want to?
Not yet, but I will say this. Next week, while some of you are still calling and typing and things of that nature, next week will be the launch of the Bevins 8 news show, Living Single with Chantel Monet. That will be next Monday. And so for those of you who are connected to anyone that is single, please let them know that next week will be the beginning of Living Single. And that is one of the Bevins 8 Productions, and it will be happening here on Mix Station Live. And
all your single people, tell them to tune in.
Who are single. And so, that's going to be a great thing. So we're excited about that. And so, that's important. For those of you who are trying to plan your Valentine's Day extravaganzas, on February the 15th, we are having a Lovers Ball. The Married and Engaged ministry at our church, Victorious Ministries International, with Pastor Tony Smith, we are hosting a Lovers Ball, and it is going to be a phenomenal time. It'll be a red carpet event. You'll have pictures that you'll be taking. It'll be music, food. We'll have a great time, and you will feel like a star. It's $30. The tickets are $30 per couple, and you are more than welcome to come. It is open to the public as long as you are married or engaged with a ring. And so, we definitely want you all to come out and do it. So for those of you who have not planned your festivities for Valentine's Day, considering Valentine's Day is on a Thursday and you're getting up to go to work on Friday, we are having this on Friday night from 8 to 11. And you definitely don't want to miss it. It is going to be a great time. We have some phenomenal people who will be in the building, and we are going to have a ball.
So inbox us right now. How many tickets? So I can get them tickets to you right now. Go straight there. Don't think about it. You don't have nowhere to go yet. She gonna say, where we going? $30 per couple, not per person, per couple. Go to the inbox and tell us how many tickets you need and that you're going to get them tomorrow.
That's great. So in my final thoughts, I would like to, encourage you to consider your ways. And what I mean by consider your ways, consider how you present yourself, consider how you treat yourself, how you treat others. I know that we can be our worst critics. I know that we can be hard on ourselves, and all of those things happen, and all of those things are necessary things that will transpire. But I do want you to be fair. Understand that you are not perfect. Understand that you will not always do the right thing. And so you cannot beat yourself up every time that you don't reach the mark. But what you can't do is quit. And what you can't do is get complacent in a failing place. So always get up, always dust yourself off, and always keep moving, because your best is still ahead of you, no matter how great your past has been.
That's it. What? Oh, okay. So if you don't have the book 64 Tools for a Successful Relationship, then you can purchase that at our store, which is www.mkt.com/w-marcus-bevins, or you can go to teambevins.com and you can purchase it there along with some other books. Again, this is 64 Tools for a Successful Relationship, and this is a must read and a must have on your bookshelf.
What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Oh, you're just going to bring out...
Done.
Bring out
No, my final
hip-hop.
thoughts are be honest with yourself. Spend time with yourself every day, and not just for your spouse, but for yourself, for your advancement in every area of your life. You need to be honest with yourself and correct those things. No one should have to point them out to you when you're with yourself every day, and you know where you're failing, or where you're lacking, or where you need help. And if it's something that you just can't get by yourself, or through prayer you feel like you're just still not meeting the mark, then reach out to somebody you trust, your pastor, your aunt, your parent, somebody, a good friend, a good couple that you trust and that you've seen overcome some things, that have some proof of being successful and change, and ask them, to help you along, to be your accountability partner. But definitely allow your spouse or get an accountability partner. If it's both of you, you should have another couple that can check you.
Right.
If you don't, I don't know, but if you don't trust your pastor, I don't know, that's weird. But if you have another couple that should be able to check you to say, no, you're wrong, and that won't take sides, that will be neutral in every situation. But definitely you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to admit the things that you need to change and take the steps to change it.
Indeed. Now, I want to invite you all, for those of you who do not have a church home, I really want you to consider finding yourself a church home. I am inviting you to one of the best churches that there is in the land, and that's Victorious Ministries International. With our Pastor Tony Smith, you will get some real teaching, some great word, you'll get some great worship, and it is something that is a necessity. It is very difficult to have a successful relationship without God being the center. And I know everybody says, I love God and I worship God in my own way, and God is in my heart, and that's great. But he also wants you in his house. He can be in your heart, but he wants you in his house. And so, that you need to go there for refueling. You need to go there for strength. You need to go there for encouragement. You need to go there for direction. You need to go there for correction, because all of those things happen through the word of God, and it happens in the atmosphere. And what better place than to be in a place where there are other people that you can draw strength from? So, I know many of you are like, well, I read the Bible, right? And that's like homeschooling. And how smart will you be teaching yourself? So, you need someone that can teach you. You need someone that can help you. You need someone that can instruct you so that you can get to the right place. And so I'm offering you that invitation to come. And when you come, make sure, you check in with Team Bevins. Let us know that you're there.
Check in with us.
And let us know that, you came to be a part of the worship experience, be a part of the service, and to get what God has for you. And I promise you this, if you come, God will meet you where you are, that you'll hear something, you'll feel something that is what you need. And I truly believe that. Go ahead.
That's true. And I look a little different on Sundays because I wear my makeup, because I minister in praise and worship. So don't be afraid of me. I look a little different.
Right.
Just
look like
say
she's about to
hello. But so, it is me. Yeah.
So that's very important. And so we definitely want everyone to be holistically happy. We don't want you to just be surface happy. We want you to be able to be happy, and you can actually grow and become the best version of you that you can be, because that's what we want for you. So we thank you for tuning in to the Couples Corner tonight. And
pray for us. We'll pray for y'all
next time in the Couples Corner.
Thank you for tuning in to to the Couples Corner with Team Bevins. We're grateful that you stopped by and shared your time with us tonight. We look forward to seeing you again here next week at 9 p.m. And feel free to share this on your page with any of your people who would benefit from this conversation. We're grateful that you shared your time with us. And now we've got to go, but we look forward to connecting with you again here on the Couples Corner with Team Bevins.